And welcome to another video. So the today topic is to describe the structure of the MVC. MVC structure, what is the MVC structure in the Flutter and how we can interact with the MVC structure. So in the second last video, I just described the MVVM pattern by using the provider section. This section has been done in the last video. We have done it. Okay, so in this video, we are just going to about to discuss the GetX structure, and then by the using of the GetX package, we will describe the MVC pattern. So what is the difference between them? The first difference is that we have just input into the views, and in the GetX we just input into the controller. What does it means? It means that the we are just putting the all the informations we are just gathering from the users. So we just put into the views, and then view just go to the view model to rendering or to performing some jobs on it, or authenticate or something like that, because we are just calling the APIs into the view model. So that these data will be authenticated by this model, and this model is this controller is also send the data to the model. You can say simultaneously this model rendering the data and performing some jobs on it, and update the model and update the view as at a single clock or simultaneously. Okay, so in the GetX, what it does perform, it performs basically models, controller, and view. You can say you have to know about that. What is the difference between okay, so we are just putting on the GetX. What GetX is basically, we are just using for those purposes. We are just small app. We are just moving on the small apps or like authentications apps. In the GetX, we are just used to the MVC structure, and in this MVC structure, we have the three modules like that, and we have the view, controller, and then the model. What it does, the difference between, you can say there is an input we are taking in to the controller, and the input we are taking in the controller, as I told you about the provider. Okay, so in the GetX, we are just putting the input into the controller. What does it means? It does means it is very simple. It is means we are just taking the data into the controller and rendering the controller, and rendering performing the data into the controller, and then update the model and then update the view. Both are doing same jobs. It controllers update the model same time and update the view same time. This model, this view model update the model same time and update the view same time. But the difference is the performing the jobs and getting the data. What it means? This means that we are just taking the input from the user into the controller same time on the same time it's performing the API calling right now. Okay, so in this model is very pretty fast. Provider is pretty fast. So in this model, we are taking the user inputs, all the user inputs. So user inputs belongs to the text form fields. User belongs to the authentications. User field basically belongs to the on button listener, on button events. It's about all the things which belongs to the user UI. So user UI related, the data is handled by the view, and then view is sent to the view model. Then view model is come back to the view. So these controllers handles all the situations single hand. Okay, so it's handled all the situation by single hand. Yeah, it's get the input, it's strengthening it's perform some jobs, it's authenticate from the model, it's update the model and update the views. All the responsibilities of the controller it is. But here it is, view model is just not taking the data from the user. It just rendering the data and performing some jobs and performing some actions, and then return to the views and return to the model. But in this model, this controller takes the input and rendering the whole data and performing some jobs from some operations, and then this controller will update the models, and then this controller will update the view. So this is very time taking, because it's a single and to perform the jobs. But we have the two two nodes here to perform the jobs here. Okay, so this is pretty fast. So usually we are just moving for the giant size of applications. We must prefer for the MVVM pattern for this architecture. Okay, so in the small things we are just putting this architecture. So we will very pretty for that. Okay, the in the builder, in the widget builder, we have just two different things. As we know now, as we know that in the GetX, we are just take the input from into the controller. Okay, so you can see this is an image. We have the builder here, get builder here. We have the we have the controller. Basically, this is the basic controller, not the product provider. This is basically a controller here, and similarly, we just take the two objects here. What it is? It is an init, and then it is a builder. We just thoroughly discussed about we are just getting the input into the controller. So init state is just pointed out to the controller. You have created the state of it. Okay, so this will be point out this controller, and init state is basically refer to the initializing the something, initializing the controller. So you are just navigating to the view model, and you are just navigating from one screen to another screen. So you will pass the reference to the view, but it will automatically call the controller. Any state will call the controller first, then is builder view builder will be performed. Okay, so we are just taking the input automatically into the controller. Are you getting me? I'm just saying that if we are just moving to the from one screen to another screen, like from product to product detail, product basically goes to the product detail view, and product detail views, what it does, it basically calls the controller, product detail controller of in by the inner state. Inner state renders first and it's complete, then builder runs. So it means that the controller runs first, this controller runs first, and then the view, this builder will perform your action. Okay, so if we were talking about this architecture, so what it does, basically takes the input into the view. So don't we need to need to put the init action here. So we just put the builder here, and then it will done the job for us. That's it. Okay, so just go for the current code, and let's see in the discuss in the deep, so what they are. Okay, so yeah, so I am just putting the it's based on the provider. In the second last video, I just completed on the provider. Okay, so I am just putting the GetX controller, GetX, and then upget. Okay, so it's has been uploaded. So and after that, we have just made the changes GetX and remove the provider. And in the main file, we just inject the change notifier provider. So we don't need the injections for the GetX. So dependency injection. So we are just removing it, and by putting up some like that, or and we are just remove this provider. So we don't need to do anymore with the provider. So the main file is okay. The main file is done. Now the third is your controller file. Controller file, you notice that we just go with the provider. So we are just going with the GetX. So I am just put the get builder here. Okay. So first of all, extends, and then GetX controller, and then we have already functions in the life cycle of the GetX. Life cycles, we will discuss about the life cycles in the future video. So just uh, just uh, re, uh, just remember, we are just calling the onReady function in the GetX. So it's just call in the life cycles as just life cycles calls. Okay, so onReady functions because basically calls when all the operations were done, and then onReady functions will be performed. So then we will remove the change notifier. We don't need to change notifier because we are just not going to the provider. So remove this up, and we need the update. Update is basically update the update, call this API, and then after the API calling, this will update automatically the state, and this state is, if this state updates, so it will update the view automatically. Okay, so we don't need, then our controller has been done, and we are just going to the product view GetX here, and then in the GetX we are just have the GetX builder. In the previous one, we are just putting the consumer here, and we don't have this, and we have just three parameters like that. We just have three parameters, and the consumers we don't have the init. So I can see you provider view. This is the last class code I just made for you, and you can see. Yeah, this one is okay. So we have the product provider. You can see in the project provider we just have the consumer, and then have the builder. So in the GetX we don't need to do any consumer, any provider. GetX has own its builder. So we are just putting the builder and get the product view or a product provider, or it's a controller. It's basically a controller class, and in it the controller class and then the builder. Okay, so here is a difference between that. These two lines has a difference. Okay, so our GetX is ready. So let's check it out, and if have any error. Okay, we don't have any error about. We have just warning. So